Hey, this is Ariel, and you're listening to the Cyber PR Music Podcast, dispatches for the new music business. Welcome to the Cyber PR Music Podcast. Today, I am talking to a friend of mine, Karen Allen, who I have known for over 10 years. We met in France at Midem, and at the time, the thing that was really hot was digital music, mp3.com. Things were being really disrupted at the time. And Karen is someone who has been at the forefront of streaming and artist development since 1995. I'm going to let her do the intro. But the reason why I'm so excited to have her on as my guest is she has recently authored a book and a course called Twitch for Musicians. There's, of course, been a tremendous amount of talking in the industry about how are we going to monetize. I think we've pretty much figured out Spotify is not the golden ticket. And when Karen called me up and let me know that she was developing Twitch for Musicians, I was so excited that she is doing this. She is a masterful teacher. She's going to break everything down for us in today, which is going to be a different format that we usually have. She's going to give more of a presentation. It's going to be less of a two-way conversation. But I hope you walk away understanding this exciting platform. Welcome, Karen.
I'm so happy to be here. This is my favorite topic. You literally can't shut me up about this. So any chance I get to talk about it, I'm super excited for.
So before we dive in and get to the presentation, I know you've been in and around the music streaming space since 1995. It's probably iterated so many times since then. And I know you've been hardcore doing what you're doing for the past 3 years. So you have achieved expert level at what you're about to talk about. But please do dive in, give us a little bit about your background. I know you, but I know a lot of my listeners do not.
Sure. So I've been in digital music, as you say, since 95, and streaming was a part of that. And it was so early days, and it was super early for the internet. I mean, we were still on 56K modems at that point. So the idea of sending video and music through live at the same time was just like mind-blowing and very expensive. So I was involved with a company called rocktropolis.com. They were one of the very first music websites ever. And we were sort of like an online music magazine, for lack of a better explanation. No one really knew what it meant to do music on a website. So we were all kind of figuring it out. And one of the things we did was a live broadcast with Sky Cries Mary. So at the time, I was also an artist manager. And the company I was working for managed this band, Sky Cries Mary. They're a Seattle sort of psychedelic rock band. They were really awesome. And we were friends with a company in Seattle that was getting into live streaming and wanted to do something with a band. So we did it. And there's much debate over who did the very first music concert live stream ever. But I will say that we beat the Rolling Stones by a week, and we got a ton of press on that. So we'll probably go down in history as the first. But it was really super complicated to do. The bandwidth alone required a T1 line, which is a crazy amount of bandwidth. And just processing and encoding the video to a small enough size so you could see it. I mean, it was actually like that for years and years and years. I've only really seen it change significantly to the point where you can do a live broadcast video with audio from your phone, for example, probably in the last, 6 or 7 years, with like Periscope was probably the biggest one that came out that really changed everything. Twitch launched around the same time. So there's this big wide swath where live streaming was just not accessible to the average musician. It was insane. It was, again, it's incredibly expensive and difficult, and by and large, nobody cared, even when you did it. So we're sort of like left to Coachella, doing their annual broadcasts through YouTube, which would cost them $250,000, $300,000 to do over 2 weekends, and it was only possible because T-Mobile sponsored it. So we've gone from really, it being really rarefied air to being something that the average musician can now do out of their bedrooms and get great quality for. So it's a super, super exciting time to be talking about live streaming.
Excellent. So I'm going to have you dive into your presentation because you talk about everything I could possibly ask in an interview. I might chime in here and there for some clarification, but I'm just as excited to see this and hear this as everyone listening in.
Sure. So let's dig in here. Such a fascinating topic to me, again, for all the reasons I've said. Other things I've done in my career, just to give you a little breadth on me, I was industry relations, mostly music startup industry relations for the RIAA, which is a trade association that looks after the record labels in Congress. They're the ones who protect all the sound recording copyrights. And they also do the Gold and Platinum program. So when they were suing Napster, they brought me in to help them figure out, what they should be doing with all this digital music mess. And then I worked for the Mobile Entertainment Forum, another trade association. It was an international trade association. I ran the North American division. And they were really instrumental in bringing the ecosystem together of all the companies that were trying to get entertainment on cell phones before we had an app. So now you just build on Android or iOS and off you go and anybody can do it. Before then, you needed 5 different provisioners to even get content on the phone, and you had to do a deal with the carrier or not, and it was really complicated. So again, really good time to be creating content because everything is so much more simpler now. And in the last 10 years, I've been doing biz dev and strategy for entertainment startups, mostly music startups. So probably over 100 companies in the last 10 years, helping them figure out where they fit in the marketplace, helping them figure out how to get clients, how to get deals done, basically how to take whatever they've created for the entertainment industry and bring it to market or have it grow in the market. So I'm really, really familiar with all the various different startup ideas that have come and gone in the last 10 years. And even before that, I mean, I've seen ideas come and go 3 times in my career. First in the 90s, second in the aughts, and third in the 10s. It's really interesting because sometimes it's a matter of timing, and sometimes it's just a matter of team. But yeah, so what I do is I keep an eye on what's going on. And through keeping an eye on what's going on, I sort of stumbled across live streaming. So now what I do relevant to Twitch, I have my own channel called In Rotation, and I feature artists who want to try Twitch but don't have their own channel. So I have already built a channel. I have already set everything up the way it needs to be set up. They can just blow into my channel and do their broadcast, and if they like it, then they can start their own channel. And it's totally open for anybody who wants to submit to be a part of that. I just ask that you're able to bring in at least 50 concurrent viewers. I produce a channel for an artist called Marina V. I got her live right around March of 2019, and she's doing really well. She wanted to start broadcasting because she got pregnant and she couldn't tour, and she makes a lot of her money on touring. So, and her fans love her, and she loves online concerts. So we've had her doing live streams on Twitch since about March. She took a couple of months off to have a baby. She's back at it now, and it's been really instrumental in supplementing her income. I manage a currently existing streamer named Megan Lennius. She's one of the best music streamers on Twitch. So I'm helping her figure out what to do with everything she's created on Twitch, like how that relates to the industry off Twitch. And then I wrote this book called Twitch for Musicians. In setting up Marina's channel and my own channel, I realized how just completely complicated the whole thing was and how difficult it was going to be for the average person to figure it out. And I thought that was going to be too high a barrier of entry for artists, and that would be a real shame because I think there's a massive opportunity right now for artists to be on Twitch. So I just figured the whole thing out and wrote it up, and it's mostly tech tutorials. It is also some strategy and also some overall, this is what Twitch is all about, that by and large, it's very specific. This is how you set up everything technically, which is way more complicated than it needs to be. So the reason I love live streaming so much is that in all my years of doing this, I have never seen anything as effective as building a real fan base, even if you're starting completely from zero, something that gives you complete creative control without any contracts with any companies. You're able to monetize really meaningfully, and by meaningfully, I mean it's actual money that's going to help you. It's not like you're going to get a little bit of ad money and you're on your own to do a brand deal. You're actually going to make money from your audience, and it's going to be a decent amount of money. And my favorite part is the community building. So and I'll come back to this a lot as I talk about Twitch, but Twitch is really all about community. And I think any artist who's been out gigging and talking to their fans on social media will know immediately that the way you build a real long-lasting fan base is to get to know your fans, and that comes through community building. And we've all found ways to do that through socials and through meet and greets, and this is a way you can do it super effectively through your live stream. And and everything I'll talk about in the beginning of this is true for any live streaming you do, and this is whether it's YouNow or YouTube or Facebook or whatever you're doing. I just happen to think that Twitch has the best opportunity for artists right now. So what I like to do when I talk about live streaming is to really talk about what it is, because I think a lot of people haven't experienced a live stream. So it's really simple. Basically, it's a camera on you, and you can have other cameras for other angles, but it's basically a camera on you performing. And then there's a chat on the side where people can chat. And then you read the chat and you respond to the chat. So in that sense, it's a lot like you've probably seen on Periscope and Facebook and so forth. So the creator broadcasts live, the viewers watch live, they chat with the artist who is watching the chat. That's all pretty standard. The difference with Twitch is that it's one of the monetized live stream services. So viewers can subscribe to your channel. They can spend virtual currency with Twitch and spend that virtual currency on your channel with something called a cheer emote, which is like a little animated GIF that pops on your screen with your name on it. And they can donate straight to the creator as well. They can just give you $5 or give you $10. So that's the huge difference with monetized live stream services like Twitch and YouNow and LiveMe versus the other ones. And this seems all very, very simple, but it's an extremely powerful platform. I'll give you an example. The biggest artist on Twitch by far is called A Couple Streams. And they're a husband-wife duo that had literally nothing going on before they started streaming. I mean, she, sang a little, and he's played in bands, but, as them, they were really starting from scratch. They hadn't even played out. They're from Austin. They haven't played out in Austin. They were literally just, bedroom hobbyists at this point. They started Twitch in 2016. They've been on for 3 years. They quit their jobs and went full-time after about 6 months. Right now they stream 2 days a week, between 3 to 4 hours per session, because they're working on a record. But traditionally, typically, they will do 3 to 5 days a week. 4 days a week is pretty average for them. Again, 3 to 4 hours per session. They'll play about 30 songs during that time. Because they've been doing this for so long, and they've been really good at marketing themselves. Right now, they average about 500 concurrent viewers per stream, which is fantastic. And the one thing I want to say is, as we talk about numbers with Twitch, you cannot compare them with the numbers you're used to hearing with social media. So with socials, we want thousands, we want tens of thousands, we want hundreds of thousands, but that's not a very engaged 100,000 or a very engaged 10,000. So when you have a smaller number of people on Twitch, you can, because it's such an engaged base, you can get the same or even better results on Twitch. So when I say 500 concurrent streamers, that's really, really, really good. I've actually seen them have 800 concurrent streamers.
Can I
And
jump in and just ask
yeah.
a quick question? So I know you probably can't divulge what their income is, but do you think they make over six figures a year?
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Okay.
Um, and I think when they take time off to record, they don't make that. You know, that's a sacrifice. You make Twitch is very much a show up for it kind of platform. If you don't show up, the action is not going to happen. So you're losing revenue, you're losing subscribers, you're losing a lot when you don't show up. But they do it enough that they can keep their audience. You know, they've got a record coming out in a few months. Um, but yeah, I mean, for sure. And that's actually really very much on the high end for artists on Twitch. You'll find, I mean, Twitch is mostly a gamer platform. It's mostly gamers playing games live for other gamers. That's probably 90% at least of what the platform is. And you'll see gamers on there with 3,000 concurrent viewers, 1,000 concurrent viewers. So it sort of gives you a sense of when we are at scale with a topic of content on a massive platform where it could possibly go. Music is very small on Twitch. So right now the audiences are fairly small. But again, because they're so engaged, they're insanely meaningful.
Right. Amazing.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example of the kind of money that a couple streams can bring in. So they use something called Streamer Song List, which is a service where you can take requests and people can put donations on those requests. And they are definitely on the high end. Again, because they have so many concurrent viewers. They've been doing this for a long time. They have some fans that love them and tip them hard. So this is definitely on the high end. But like for this queue, which when you look at when you watch this back and not just listen to it, you'll see what I mean. But there's a queue of song requests. So the song they're going to be playing right now is Landslide. It's a cover. It's Fleetwood Mac. A user named Mistress tipped them $35 to play that cover. They have a user called Potential that clearly is a wealthy super fan. They have tipped them $200 to play Dirty Paws of Monsters and Men. They have a Whiskey Song, which is like a folk song they do, and that right now is at $60 for them to cover that song. But that's comprised of a lot of small donations. So they've got maybe 10, 15 donors on here that have put in $3, $1, $10, $5, another $5, that sort of thing that kind of builds that up. Again, this is on the top side of it, but you get an idea of how much money you can really be doing. It's a lot more common to get $5 for a cover or a request, $10. A lot of artists get nothing, and that's fine because they make money on subscriptions in other ways. But just to sort of give you an idea of, again, when you're at scale, when you have a lot of audience, it's extremely powerful in creating a revenue source for people. And just so you know, they actually do their own songs here too. They do a lot of covers, but they put their own originals in here too. So a band that I advised on getting into Twitch is Fantastic Plastics. They're a bit like a power pop divo. They do a lot of original songs and some sort of divo-like covers. So they got into it. They're a working independent band. Like they've got records out, they tour, they've got an audience. Like they're at, like a lot of people listening to this, like they're out there doing it. They're not just bedroom hobbyists that happen to, you know, stumble upon Twitch and start doing this and figure it out. Like they actually have a lot going on. So they brought their fans on. They promoted it and brought their fans on to watch them. Right now they're doing about 1 day a week. They do 3 to 4 hours per session. They're running about 40 concurrent viewers. They got their affiliate status in about 2 months. An affiliate is the first level where you get to participate in Twitch's monetization. We'll get to that later. And most of their audience, honestly, is their existing fan base. But because they can sort of bring in their existing base and have viewers, it elevates them in the discovery features on Twitch so that other people will sort of stumble across them and say, oh, who's this cool looking band that has, you know, 20, 30 people watching them? I'll watch them too. And then they start to get other fans through that. The thing that their manager is most happy with, they've been able to turn those fans into super fans. So instead of those fans just being people who occasionally comment on an Instagram post or listen on Spotify or buy a ticket once in a while, like they're there every week, they're talking to the band, they're getting super into it, and they've seen that sort of, they've seen the effects of that through their merch sales and through their Spotify streams and other things.
So this is an amazing way to root out your super fans and form really deep bonds with them.
Yeah, for sure it is. Yeah. Another band that I helped get on Twitch, they're called Moonlight Social. They're a duo out of Nashville, sort of country rock duo. They took another tack. They actually didn't bring any of their existing fans on. They wanted to start completely from scratch. They stream 3 to 4 days a week, probably 2 hours a session. They're running about 20 concurrents, which is great to start from zero and get to 20 concurrent viewers. Again, these numbers sound like they are nothing, but you can have fun with 10 people that are chatting. You can make money on 20 people. Like, don't get caught up in like these numbers sound like nothing to me, because they're really not nothing when you have this level of engagement. They got their affiliate status in about 2 months, so they can start charging subscriptions and getting cut in on virtual currency. They're a lot of fun because they do a ton of covers, and people love covers. They like to hear songs they know, and he'll even do what's called a live learn, which is where someone suggests a song that you don't know and you just learn it on the fly. So you like watch the YouTube video or something and then you'll just play it back. He's a really good player by ear, and he brings up the lyrics and gives it his best shot. And it doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be fun, and he makes them all really, really fun. So that's another way of sort of going after it, is just to start completely from scratch, even though you have audience, and build from nothing. So when we talk about, people always ask me, like, how much money can I make for streaming? And it is really all over the place. It depends on so many factors. It depends on whether or not you have affiliate or even partner status with Twitch and you can monetize with Twitch. It depends on whether you are doing covers or doing your own thing, whether you have donations set up for your song requests. It depends on how many hours you're streaming, how many days you're streaming, what you're doing on that stream to engage people. It depends on whether you're any good. I hate to say it, but people who are good do really well. People who are average do really averagely. But just what I have seen in my experience, if you're running 20 to 50 concurrents, you're doing 1,000 or less per month. And again, it depends on many, many things. I mean, that could mean you're doing $100 a month. But I don't know that anybody's really going to get over $1,000 a month with only 20 to 50 concurrent viewers. If you're more in the neighborhood of 150 to 250, which is where most of the bigger artists on Twitch are, you're probably doing somewhere between $1,500 to $3,500 a month. Again, depending on many, many things. And even if you're doing everything consistently, the same number of hours, the same number of days per week, the same kind of show that people like, there are just sort of natural dips and flows in viewership on Twitch. So some months are just going to be soft and some months are going to be really great. It just really depends. But that's kind of a ballpark of where I've seen people do well end up. And if you're doing over 500 concurrents, 8,000 to 12,000 is definitely possible. So again, I hedge these numbers so much, but this is just sort of like what I've seen people do and what I know is possible. And if you really put the effort into it, it can really come back to you.
That's really exciting, because if you think about like artists that want to go on tour, and let's say they want to tour, 5 or 10 cities if they're just starting out. Let's say you do an average of 30 or 40 people per city, how long it takes to build up those audiences, drive around in your van, spend all your money on, gas and getting there and hotel and all the touring. And it would seem to me that 150 to 250 people. And when you say concurrent, that means people that are tuning in for for how long? Or is it at one time?
At one time. People watching at one time.
Okay.
And that's like the average of So if they're on for 3 hours, they'll run about 150 to 250 concurrents any given time.
Got it.
Yeah.
So within 3 hours, you'd get 150 people.
Yeah, I mean, that could be, 2,000 people
Right.
over that time for people coming and going and so forth. But I mean, the people who, your fans tend to stick around. So of that 150, 250, I would say at least half are probably the same people.
It's really, really amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they might only jump
covers-
on, you're on for 3 hours, they might be jumped on for 1 hour, but people stick around.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really about hanging out with people. It's not like your socials, where you just post something and people, and you're part of the infinite scroll. It's not like that. People want to hang out with you.
Super cool.
So let's talk a little bit about live streaming in general. And again, this is not Twitch specific. This is for any live streaming that anybody wants to do. And there are music specific live stream platforms popping up all the time right now. So those might be worth looking into. They don't have quite the audience that Twitch does yet. But if you end up on one of these services, everything I'm telling you right now is completely relevant to live streaming in general. You may be wondering how I know so much about live streaming. Well, I did my own channel on YouNow in 2016. I saw a presentation about YouNow, and I could not believe the amount of money these teenagers were making to do stupid teenager stuff on their channels for stupid teenager viewers. Like, it was amazing to me. Things that you could watch on YouTube for free, people were tuning in live and then actually spending money. And it's really hard to get a teenager to spend money on anything. So why were they doing this when they could watch this kind of content on YouTube? So I started a channel. I wanted to figure it out. I wanted to figure it out from the creator side. So I did a channel, like an advice channel for teenagers. So they could ask me anything that they didn't want to ask an adult in their life. And I said I'm not a therapist, but it was just sort of like a very informal advice channel. And through doing that, I learned a lot about what is actually happening on live streaming that's not happening on other platforms. And the number one thing is that people are there for a community. They are there for a human experience. It's not unlike wanting to watch a reality show or any of the like Teen Mom or any of those shows, sort of like voyeurism kind of shows that you watch on TV. It's not unlike that, but they want to actually have direct contact. The viewers contribute their time and their attention to the stream. So they have an investment in the stream as much as you do. This is not a lean back experience, this is a lean forward experience for them. So you end up feeling really connected to the streamers. And they feel connected to you, and then they feel connected also to the other viewers that they're chatting with. So it ends up being this whole hangout that they feel like they belong to. You spend real time. It's not the, a quick hit of content in the infinite scroll of your Facebook. You actually spend real time with people, and that strengthens bonds. So you really feel like you're a part of the show. You have a relationship with the creator. You like what they're doing. It's this whole place where it just kind of feels like home for you. And here's where the money comes in. When people feel like they're getting something of value, they will give something of value. The best way I can explain this to music people is when fans say, I'm not going to buy the record, let's assume the band is signed to a major. Like, I'm not going to buy the record, but I'm going to go see the band live and buy the t-shirt because I want to support them. Like, how many times have we heard that? I'm not going to buy the record, but I will go buy the t-shirt. I want to support the band. When people feel like they're getting something that they value, that brings value to their life in some way, they want to represent that. They want to give back in some way. And live streaming is really good at giving some sort of low engagement, low dollar ways of giving back, and then high engagement, high dollar ways. That is how we turn live streaming content into actual dollars. without relying on brands, without relying on hundreds of thousands of people that a brand wants to reach. That's how you do that directly. And I suspect, Ariel, that's what you've been telling your artists forever about how they should be nurturing their relationships with their fans and how they turn that into a crowdfunding campaign, for example.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of that has to do with collecting data, about, do you have an email list? Do you have a text message list? How often are you communicating off of Instagram? Even though everybody loves Instagram, it has been, it's not super monetizable. And I think this is like a whole other level, because yes, there's a human experience in contributing to a crowdfunding campaign, but very rarely do you get to spend hours with your artist. This is a very interesting idea, just because even if you do live streaming and it's on a Facebook or Instagram, people, you're right, they tune in for like 20 seconds until they are totally distracted by the next thing that they can see in their feed.
Totally, yeah, exactly, yeah. So it all comes down to community. And I say this so many times, I get blue in the face, but I honestly cannot say it enough. What you're trying to do on your stream is create community. What people crave as a natural human need is community. If you can create that, if you can give that to them, if you can welcome them into your community, then you're going to do very, very well on live streaming. If you are an introvert and don't like talking to people, do not live stream. It's not going to work. It is not going to work for you. Be mysterious on your YouTube. Be mysterious on your Instagram. It's not going to work. People really want to have like some sort of interactivity with you. So as I learned this on YouNow, I saw the same thing happening on Twitch, and that was fascinating to me because Twitch couldn't be any more different than YouNow. Like YouNow is teenagers, right? It's teenagers and cute boys and cute girls and flirting and some music here and there, but it's basically YouTube live, basically. Twitch is it's mostly 18 to 35. It's like 70%, I think, 18 to 35. It's 55% male, and they're there for games. It's a real gamer culture. But the exact same mechanics that I saw and experienced myself on YouNow, I saw happening on Twitch. So this tells me a few things. It tells me that live streaming is a social content medium that holds up regardless of age, gender, or subject matter. So it's not just a gamer thing. It's not just a teenager thing. The construct works. And if you understand what these basic social mechanics are, the social construct of live streaming, then you can be very successful at live streaming. Around this time, Twitch was making room for creative arts. So it wasn't just gaming. Gamers do more than just game. They're whole people like everybody else. They like to do cosplay. They're artists. They are musicians. They cook. They do a lot of things. So all these other categories started kind of popping up around it. And over time, some have grown really big, like music, and some have not. But this is sort of the extra piece of Twitch that sort of flowered out of games. So let's talk a little bit about what I mean by these social mechanics of live streaming. There's a basic cycle that's happening. The creator will perform. They will talk to their viewers. They'll do their show, so to speak. The viewers then watch. They post comments to the chat. They request songs. They start to sort of get actually involved and invested. When I say that they invest themselves, this is how they invest themselves. They don't have to post. They don't have to request a song. They could just watch. But when they start doing that, that's one level of interactivity. That's one level of them getting on board with you. The creator then responds to those comments and plays those song requests. So the viewers are sort of like, whoa, hey, they recognize me. They know that I'm here. I'm part of the show in some way. There's a sort of give and take relationship happening here. And then the creator, then performs songs and talks to the viewers, and it happens all over again. And as the cycle spins up, everybody has a lot of fun. And when you have fun, you want to hang out, you want to stay for more. So it's fun for the viewers because it's fun to watch things happen in real time. It's fun to watch things being created in real time. It's fun to talk to people who are creating those things that you're interested with. It's fun to talk with other people who like that as well. It's fun to make song requests, and it's really fun to be recognized for your contributions. And your contribution is a comment in the post, and it's recognized by a response. Your contribution is a song request, and it's recognized by being played. Your contribution ends up being, I made a donation, and that's recognized by saying, hey, thanks so much. That recognition is a huge, huge part of why viewers stick around and why they want to keep being a part of it. It's super fun for creators because how often do we get to play for such a receptive audience? Like hardly ever, right? Usually, unless you already have like a super, super amazing fan base that comes to all your shows and packs the club, if you don't have that, then you don't really get this instant gratification and this instant response to what you're doing. You can build a fan base in real time, which is awesome to watch you earn those fans one by one and know their names and, see how they're interacting with you. And you really get to know your fans on a level that you really wouldn't through just email and Instagram and Spotify and so forth. So that's like basically what's happening, I would say, on any iteration of any live streaming. And again, as the viewers start to have fun, they move from doing free things, and free things are following the channel, requesting songs, posting comments that can cost nothing, to doing paid things like subscribing to your channel for money, paying to request songs, buying virtual currency to spend on you, just straight up giving donations. As we go from I'm having a little bit of fun to I'm having a lot of fun and I'm really invested, generally the monetary investment tracks with that. So the other way to look at this is that what creators give and get and what viewers give and get. So creators are giving the performance, they're giving attention to viewers, and viewers are getting attention. Viewers are giving their attention to creators. They're giving their contributions, which is chat and sometimes money. Creators are getting real fans and they're getting money from those fans, and the viewers are getting community. That's the biggest thing they're getting out of this. They're really getting a sense of I'm part of this, and when I support something that's acknowledged, and I've met other cool people, and I'm looking forward to see what the creator does next.
This episode of the Cyber PR Music Podcast is brought to you by our dear friend Karen Allen, creator of Twitch for Musicians. In this online course, you will learn how to create meaningful relationships with fans and make money directly from your audience members, both new and old. Learn everything you need to know about live streaming on Twitch from the master herself, and get 30% off today by visiting the link in our show notes.